Hi, my name is Matthew Hawley, and this is the introductory segment of my observing video. And with respect to my campus demographics, I teach at one of the two programs that represents our district's one alternative campus. And according to our district's TAPR for the lone high school that our alternative program is affiliated with, the following demographics apply. The number of students is 2,239 in grade levels 9 through 12, and the ethnic makeup is 6% African American, 71.4% Hispanic, 20.8% white, 0.1% American Indian, and 0.9% Asian. The student socioeconomic makeup is 60.9% economically disadvantaged, and the number of faculty includes a professional staff of 178, with teachers making up 153 of this number. And the faculty ethnic makeup includes 5.9% African American, 21.9% Hispanic, 69.3% white, and 0.7% Asian. And the faculty range in average years of experience is as follows. Beginning teachers, 7.1%. 1 to 5 years experience, 20.8%. 6 to 10 years experience, 27.5%. 11 to 20 years of experience, 27.3%. And over 20 years of experience, 23.4%. And the student social and or cultural issues that we deal with, especially at my individual campus, are low attendance rates, and we are a campus that serves a student population that is labeled 100% at risk, and counseling needs are high. And a description of the field experience activity I'm about to perform. My field experience is going to be somewhat different from a traditional classroom in that I'm going to be observing, as I've said before, I'm observing a classroom in an alternative school, at an alternative campus. And the primary difference relates to one teacher being responsible for differentiating and delivering instruction to not only each individual student, but moreover to a group of students who represent all grade levels and are individually working at their own pace, anywhere from 2 to 7 subjects. And the instructor I'm observing serves as one of our campus's 3 math teachers, yet he also serves as our campus's lone chemistry and physics teacher as well. And like all math teachers, he teaches every section, like all math teachers at our campus, he teaches every section of math offered, yet his primary responsibilities include serving as the lead Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 EOC review instructor, as well as performing the majority of coursework offered in geometry. And his grade levels are 9 through 12, and he has 8 years of experience teaching at the secondary level and has served all but one of these years teaching at our alternative campus. And I chose this particular teacher for the following reasons. A, I've never observed math instruction before, or seen the curriculum delivered in any way, and I'm curious to see how much different or even the same the delivery instruction is when compared to my own subjects. And moreover, I know this particular teacher is someone who he's extremely passionate about math. He says math is art. And yet, he also is someone who really embraces technology as a means to differentiate instruction. And considering how many subjects he has to cover in one class section with so many, with students at different paces, different subjects, different grade levels, and like I said, one student can be in a different subject from another student, or another student can be in the same subject but a completely different unit. With all of these concerns, I'm extremely interested to see how he's able to organize his lessons and provide instruction in a manner that furthermore combines effective means of technology. And the student demographics that make up the classroom I'm going to be observing, or I will be observing, there will be 12 students that actually make up the student's roster. So as a percentage breakdown, it's roughly 92% Hispanic and 2% African American. And his lesson plans will follow the following objectives for the following subjects. Geometry. The objectives for the lesson are going to be to determine the measures of central angles, chords, and arcs using theorems about angle, chord, and arc congruency, and to solve problems using the radius tangent theorem and its converse, and to identify congruent central angles, chords, and arcs. The next subject that is going to be part of this his classroom session, or the actual 45-minute period that I'll be observing, is algebraic reasoning. Not algebra 1 or 2, but algebraic reasoning this period. And the objectives for algebraic reasoning are evaluating and solving quadratic functions and quadratic equations. And the third subject that will be covered for this period mainly is chemistry, and the objectives for this lesson are to identify some naturally occurring isotopes of elements that are radioactive and to differentiate chemical and nuclear reactions in terms of energy released. And the instructional strategies and methods of delivery used involve two alternating methods. There's one-on-one instruction, and there's also going to be small group purposeful talk and practice. That's one of the objectives we follow in our lessons here, of small group purposeful talk. So we have our one-on-one instruction for each student, but also we move them to the center of the room, and we have the small group instructional time where we actually do the teaching for the lesson. And we alternate this to keep the students engaged and moving at all times, and just to stay focused on whatever subject, and also to help us organize our lessons. And the instruction is by definition differentiated in a manner in which he's going to be delivering the lessons. Well, considering that each student, like I've said before, is working on their own individual program using Edgenuity software. The key is our Edgenuity software we use at this campus. The teacher I'll be observing, even though it's automatically differentiated for each student and he's providing that instruction for each, he takes it a step further in that he has each, so to differentiate for each student, each grade level, and for varying subjects, he has each student's coursework and plan available via a spreadsheet he has created, which communicates between the Edgenuity software and his school-issued laptop. Basically, he projects the laptop in front of the entire class, and each student's course is listed by their respective name. And therefore, when a student needs assistance, he or she will notify the instructor via connecting to their respective name on the screen, which will apparently light up and signal to the teacher. And the teacher will then know exactly which student needs help and with which course each student needs help in, or needs help with as well. And the coursework the students complete in Edgenuity, well, when it comes to assessments, it follows an ongoing process of formative assessments through unit quizzes. And the students' progress will be monitored by how well they perform on each quiz. And if they do not perform well, the instructor, this is part of our small group purposeful talk, the instructor will pull the student to the middle of the room and or more than one student, depends on which subject's being taught and however many students have either done well on this specific quiz or not done well. And if they have not performed well, the instructor will review the materials covered by the quiz and provide the student with another opportunity to meet the objectives. And this provides the, I would say, the ideal measurement that is able to determine the level of student learning that is progressively taking place. And I'm really curious to see how this works with math. And even though chemistry I'm also not familiar with, some of our lower test scores right now have been Algebra 1, Algebra 2, EOC, and I'm really interested to see how curriculum is developed and presented to students via math, because I've never seen it before. And student engagement will be assessed by an ongoing two-way interaction between the teacher and the student, but it's different what he is going to be doing, because it's a really unique interaction, because the student's able to, basically there's student communication and teacher communication via the student seeking the teacher's assistance, the teacher continually monitoring student progress by continuously walking around the room. We call that the power zone as part of the lesson plan format we follow here at the school. So he's always going to be constantly walking around the room just to make sure and to keep track of each student, what they're doing. And moreover, and this is the part that he's going to bring to the lesson that I have not seen yet, he is going to be allowing students not just to engage him by raising their hand or getting his attention, but also to communicate with him technologically through the smart board in the front, however his computer system works. And so they can either just get his attention just by raising their hands or just getting his attention, but if they don't feel as comfortable with this, they have the also option to communicate via technological means. So I'm excited to see how this works. And it'll, therefore, this unique process, it's a continuous ongoing flow of communication, and it basically is going to seek to keep every student at every level engaged. That is the overall goal. So there's a continuous communication, 3 different formats, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this entire process unfolds.
to find the vertex. So you need to press y equal. You need to define your function, negative 2x squared plus 7x plus 4. Now the vertex is either the maximum or the minimum of the parabola, right? So you need to make sure that it's on your screen. You need to press graph. That's the next step. Just to make sure that it's there. It is somewhere here, right outside. So you need to zoom out, zoom 3. And then enter as many times as needed. Here once should be enough. Here we go. Now you have to calculate something on what you traced. Second trace. And in that case, see the parabola was going that way? So it's a maximum. So you're looking for the maximum. 4. And it's going to ask you 3 questions. Left bound, right bound, and your guess, your estimate if you wish. So your vertex is roughly here. Left bound, guess what? Go on the left. Press enter. Right bound, using the right arrow, you're going to position your cursor on the right of the vertex. Here we go. And press enter twice. 1, 2. Back. So that's 1.75 and 10.125. Right here. Okay, that should, so maybe you should, you're going to need to get used to it. We're going to use that lesson, okay, to get you familiarized with this technique with the calculator, and that will serve you for the rest, okay, of the lessons, the geometry tests, okay. So, change your question. I'm going to give you an update. 1, 2, 6, 9 are correct. 1, 2, 6, 9. We'll read the rest in the coming again. Videos. No. Oh, that's standard? That's a commercial? That's the commercial on standard? Okay. Sorry about that. This, if you need to be charged, I will accept that. But, right here, face down. Anybody? Yeah? Your spiral. Trust it to me. Say again? Oh, yes. That's geometry B, Serena, correct? Smart move for you then. In case it's lost, it's on me.
I think my red one.
Oh, the other one is closed on. You. Serena, half to less. Alright, and another brand new one. Yes. Actually, you're not. Let me check where you are, and eventually, you'd rather stay here?
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do. Let's see what we have. I have to ask them. Yeah, you're supposed to be with Mrs. Guzman and Mrs. Robbins.
Right now?
All day long. Yeah? Okay, perfect. All right. Yes. This, take that away. No, that you use the computer for music. I would accept before, but students will take advantage because we have a limited way to control, some of the students will watch videos or have their friends and stuff. So. All right, let's go show the program. All right, here. So, so first, we need to be able to identify this here is called the chord. That is a segment, and the two endpoints are on the circle, right? If the circle cuts like that, okay, and so you have only one endpoint, okay, that's called the sequence. Okay, seccare in Latin means to cut, right? And when the segment touches it's called the tangent. Tangere means touch. Start to write Latin. All right, so to summarize, chord, two endpoints on on the circle. Second, only one with one outside, okay, and cutting. And disregard this for that context. The tangent just touches at one point, okay. And if this is the center, that will form the right angle. Right? Now, if you have two chords, which is a very kind of two chords.
You have two of those there.
Say again?
And now you got two of those.
Yes, exactly. You see. Right. So that's length A, length B, length C, length B. You have the equality. A times B equals C times D. Okay? If you have two sequences, so I'm going to call the whole thing here A, and just this B. I'm going to call this whole thing here C, and just this part D. You have the same thing. A times B equals C times D. Then you have one secant and one tangent. But here, right? So let's say that this one is a secant, and you have a tangent, okay? So the whole thing here is A, this part here is B. going to have A times B equals, if this is C, C squared. And finally, if you have two tangents, one here, one there, if this is A, if this is B, we have A squared equals B squared, or
Also, these are all the square.
or A equals B, because you have the square on both sides. Okay, so here I'm pretty sure that I took you over the more lessons. Okay, that's worth maybe 2, maybe even 3 lessons. Okay, so let's so Ji here. Oh, my bad. See, I made a mistake. It's not the one inside. B is the one outside. Okay, and D is the one outside here. Do you see my mistake?
Yeah, I mentioned.
Okay, so that's one. Okay, it's this and that. Right? So I have the whole thing times the outside segment equals the whole thing here times that. Right? Now, if they want you to find x, I'm going to use that equality. You're going to use the y equal. Okay? Everything. So, I've got 4 times 22. Yes?
Okay.
So 4 times 22. You see it? Because 18 plus 4 is 22, right? Equals x plus 6. The x is here. Times the outer segment, which is 6. Then you graph to make sure that the lines intersect on your screen. If it doesn't, the first thing to try is zoom 0. Here is one line, here is the other line. They intersect right here. And then you need to do second trace 5, enter 3 times. Second trace 5. Enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. X equals 8.6 repeated. And now, when you perform that calculation, the computer stores that value into X. Okay? As you can see, if I press X and then enter, that's the value that you get. You just need to frac your X. You're going to type X, and then math, enter twice. Okay. 26. So that's a lot of little steps, okay, that might, if it's new to you, that might be complex. Don't freak out. It's going to be the same thing. There are to solve equations, it's because it's going to be the same thing over and over again. You get used to it. You're what, 17, 18, something like that? 17? Okay, so your brain should have no problem whatsoever to get used to new stuff. Okay, I'm almost 50. I'm getting used to new things. So 17, no excuse. All right?
Could you show it for me?
Say again?
Could you take out the class?
Oh, yes. And then, Savannah, I'm guessing that you need my help. Take care of Carl first. B. Okay, stop the assignment. I'm going to make you the speaker.
Will I refresh it?
No, you just go to the quickest way is to click the home button on the top left. then course map, and then assignment. All right. And you're good to go. You do not submit, you will commit to use that first quiz as your help to get familiar with all those techniques. All right, thank you for your patience, Emmanuel.
Mr. Lewin, I can take my place.
Yes, sir. Way better. Review 4, 5, 10, and submit. Chant the last answered question. One, 8, 9 are correct. 1, 8, 9 will be the rest. You want to check? So, Haley, you're going to review 1, 2, 4, 7, and 10. 1, 2, 4, 7, 10. Alright guys, especially for those who are new here, you have your name, there is what you're working on, okay? And I set up some objectives for you guys, okay? If you think it's not enough or not too much, you know, or if I misspelled your name, you know, just like if I mispronounce it, don't forget I'm Frenchy, then correct me. So for instance, Savannah had one quiz, done, it's checked, okay? So please inform me when you pass the quiz. Want another check? Or you think you're confident to submit? Okay. I understand, it's Monday morning. Okay, check the... I didn't give you the list of all the parent functions. This is unforgivable. I'm going to correct that right away though. Okay, let's review number 1 here. All right, the domain is all the possible x values, right? Now, you have at this level two, three. Have you started to touch logarithms? Okay. It's one of weird, very abstract, that doesn't make almost any sense, but very useful, especially in science, chemistry, and so you have, at your level, in algebra 2, 3 forbidden operations. First, division by 0. Here, you don't have to sweat it, because, to worry about it, because there's no division. The second is the square root of a negative number, or for that matter, the root with an even index, the square root, fourth root, sixth root, and so on. Here, the index is 3. It's a cubic root, third root, right? So you don't have to worry about it. And the third operation is the logarithm of a 0 or a negative number. There is no logarithm in it. So if you don't even have this possibility of forbidden operation, it's all real numbers. With hypotenuse and leg, right? So the hypotenuse is 2x plus 9 here and here for x minus 1, right? And you know that those two are equal, right? Are congruent. So for that to be equal, you need to solve 2x plus 9 equals 4x minus 1. Press y equal. Define those as y1 and y2, those both sides of the equation. So 2x plus 9 for 1, enter, and then 4x minus 1. Oops, that's what multiply. Confusing, it's written like an x, right? Yeah. Alright, then you're going to press a graph just to make sure that those two lines intersect on your screen. Bam, the intersect is on your screen, and then second trace 5, enter. Nice job. You're going to review though. 1, 2, 5, 6. 1, 2, 5, 6. And then you ask me again. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah, rather. This.
Alright. Okay. So, which case scenario? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here we go. So, y equal. Clear. So let's take care of this one first. Okay. So you're going to open the parentheses. remember that A is the whole thing. So you're going to write 6 plus x plus 4. You just replace the whatever variable. No, with 6 plus 4 plus x. Oh, no, it's the same thing. Plus 4. Then you put, see, that's your A. Right? Then you reopen the parenthesis and you just put the outer segment, 6. Here we go, enter. Clear? You can do the same thing here. Try to do it by yourself.
Minus instead of plus?
X minus 2. Yeah. Or minus 2 plus x. So you add them. So plus x minus 2. Okay. Perfect. You graph to make sure that the intersect is on the screen. There's one line. Here's the other line. Ah, it's just outside. Remember the first thing to try? Zoom, 0. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's not. Let's see. And it is. It's right here. Second trace 5, enter 3 times. X equals 6. Now, are they asking for the value of x? No, they're asking you for the value of SV, which is here. Okay, but now you know the value of x, or in the problem of y, right? So quit, second mode, to have the regular screen. Second. Alright. You just need to type x plus 4 plus 6. Right, since the computer stored the value, calculated the value and stored it into x, right? Press enter, that will be your solution.
That's a lot of steps.
Yeah, but because once again, it's going to be the same way, it's the same steps over and over again. It's going to become easy, and once you master that, you will be able to solve any equation that way. Okay, so it's completely worth solving, wasting a bit of time. You know. Yep. Now it's not this one though. It's a secant and a tangent. Okay. So do this one first, right? So the secant, so the whole thing, so open parenthesis, right? Okay. So the whole thing is 24 plus 11.5. You close and you open. The outer segment is 11.5. Perfect. Now, for the second equation, you have a tangent, and if you look here, it's just square. So, you're going to do this, right? You just replace the end like that, and you square it. Make sure that the graphic. But in that case, if you have n squared, x squared, you have a parabola. You don't see the other line. Remember the first thing you tried?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. See, you're already starting to estimate. So you have the line here and the parabola here. So because we're dealing with distances, we are not interested in the negative intercept, right? So it intersects over there. You just need to zoom out. Press the zoom button. Instead of 0, as you can see, number 3. And then you need to press enter as many times as needed for the intersect to appear on the screen. And here once is just enough. So you need second trace 5. And here, because you have two possibilities, right? You need to press enter only twice. And then, using the left or right arrow, you're going to get closer to the intersection you're interested in. Here we go. Press enter. That's your x. 20.20. All right. Now they want QP. Here we go. Round to the nearest unit. 20. Now, disregard the y. Don't care. Okay. The answer is just the x. Okay. Try to do your best. Skip if you're stuck. But if you forgot the calculator process, okay, I'm going to help you on that because it will take a little more time for that to become very easy. Actually, not the last answered question. Review 2 through 7.
Check it.
One, two, three. Probably then and submit. You want a specific help on one of them? Just in case there's one that doesn't make sense at all. This one? Okay. So that's a kite. Okay. The one property of a kite is that the diagonals are perpendicular. Okay. And one of the diagonals bisect the other diagonal. Okay. So LP and PN are congruent. Make sense so far? All right. Which additional information, if true, would help to prove that LMP is congruent to NMP by HL. Okay, so LMP, and NMP. All right. Point P is the midpoint of MK. That would help, but not necessarily. That's one of those questions which lacks accuracy. Math is math. It's black and white. It's beautiful. It's pure. There are questions that manage to make math murky. Okay, so to say. So if I think that, I can only imagine how painful it can be for you. Because H is the hypotenuse, right? When you consider those two triangles, the first thing that you want to know is that LM is MN. Yes, all right. Now, if P P is the midpoint of MK, that means that those two are congruent, right? And that would help. But once again, the word what would help is very non-mathematical. Okay, that's bad teaching with no mathematical sense. This at least is more accurate, because you would need also not only that P is the midpoint, but that it's a perpendicular to make those two a right triangle. Okay, ML equals MP, not at all, very good, and PK, and okay, I would have answered the same. But my guess is that because this is not enough, it helps, but it's not enough. My guess is that they would like to uncheck it. Yep. Okay, but that was a good answer. Okay, because this one is included in that one. See, if you analyze the English per se, right, that does help. Okay, it's not enough, but that does help. Maybe they failed English 1 star. Not too painful, Jeremy?
I understand some of it.
Yeah, basically you need to focus on the leading coefficient and the constant, okay? And but when you have, because you have, here you have 1, 15, 3, 5, and here you have 1 and 3, positive and negative, right? So that's very tedious to make the whole list of things, okay? If you know calculus, that's actually, oh, so I thought you wanted to high five. Okay. Here we go. If you're about to burst, yes, if you can wait 30 minutes, that would be awesome. If you knew calculus, that would make things easier. But that's going to be college years. Don't waste too much time taking notes, okay? What I'm going to use to do for this one, okay, is to go, we're going to go to the tutoring station. Okay, listen to the guy, he's not too early. And we use a quiz as a practice test, okay? Good job, Carl. And keep an eye on your girlfriend. Need to keep an eye on yes, no? Yes, no. What is the reason? Report exam. Okay, good. Okay, eventually review 3, 5, 7, and 7. Okay. So here, I'm here. So let me that up 9 times 4x. Nine times 4x. So you're using the parentheses, right? You close the parentheses, and then you reopen it. And then 4. There we go. In algebra, when you have nothing between two items, that means they multiply together, right? So when you read 4x, there's nothing between the 4 and the x, that means that it means 4 times x. Now, do you have anything between those two parentheses? No, that means they multiply. Do something with that?
Hello, this is Matthew Holly again. This is the post-activity reflection of my observing video and an analysis and examples of evidence of the following. When it comes to instructional strategies used during the lesson, as we discussed in our pre-conference, the instructor and I, what I was able to observe is that he alternated between one-on-one instruction as well as what we discussed earlier as far as our small group purposeful talk and practice, which is what we are required to include in our lesson plans on this campus, which also I love, and he did that as well. And however, I noticed during the observation that considering the alternating subjects and grade levels or the large variety that he was instructing, the majority of the instruction that he provided was one-on-one, and I thought in a positive way. And how did he differentiate instruction? Oh man, well, this part was amazing in my opinion. Observing how he differentiated instruction, it is unlike what I expected because in that it really went beyond my expectations because even considering that he was by default or he was differentiating instruction simply by facilitating multiple subjects, multiple students, and multiple grade levels. We all do this in our alternative campus. We all have those multiple subjects and grade levels. So we're differentiating instruction on that basis alone through the Edgenuity software we use. Nevertheless, like I said, he went above and beyond. First of all, in addition to the natural differentiation of his delivery that was present to begin with, he had a great rapport with the students, which I'll bring up later too when it comes to engagement. And this great rapport with the students, I could tell that just by the tone of his voice and the level of detail and assertion that he used, it was really, really unique with each student. And there were 12 students in the class. It's not a massive group, but each student he had a rapport with, he addressed differently. And I really enjoyed seeing that. His tone of voice some was a little bit softer, some a little more assertive, and it really fit, but it was all perfect. It really fit the individual student, and they responded really, really well. And that helped him differentiate instruction as well. And so the more his social presence, emotional presence tied in to his instructional delivery, and that helped him with his differentiated instruction. And as far as student engagement is concerned, it was incredible. This was a great class to observe. I can say he was almost flawless with respect to this aspect of observation. It was unbelievable. The continuous, ongoing, three-way communication model, as I referred to before in the introduction to this activity, was something I'm actually taking away to use in my own classes. Even I learned. And he basically, not just he set up a perfect system or machine, but he was involved at every moment with the students, and they were involved with him. It was just a constant communication. It was just interdependent, and it was fantastic. Everyone was working the entire class period. Every single student was working this is one of the most difficult things to get students to do. Each student worked the entire class period. I was really impressed by this. And his communication model that he facilitated, especially the technological edition via, as I discussed before, the projected roster in the front of the room on the big screen, with each student, their track of their assignments being kept, their name with the overall, as if the screen's right there, with their subject and grade level to help them keep organized. And they could also get his attention from that screen as well. This model was so just important to him, keeping that organization and keeping the class in a continuous working model where they were engaged and working with him individually and in a small group occasionally the entire time. And like I said, it worked wonders. And as far as classroom procedures and management, I have never seen better classroom management. It ties into what we were talking about before. They were busy the entire class period. I was incredibly impressed. But another thing about his classroom management, even though he had perfect organization, he had all subjects completely, like I said, interdependent with him reaching out to each student, them replying to him, them replying to the actual software that he had set up to where they could notify him on the screen. That in and of itself was great. Nevertheless, he was up and around his room the entire period. He did not sit down once, and this is a difficult thing to do for a teacher, including myself. He did it the entire time. He was fantastic. He walked around the room the entire time. Then he would go and check his computer to look on the computer to see if a student needed some help or was not raising their hand, if they were stalling on a question. He was continuous the whole time, and he knew which student needed help, and he was also available for a student that would need help. So either A, he would see, hey, need some help with this, or B, a student would be able to raise their hand, he could go right to them. We call it the power zone here in our lesson plans and how we monitor ourselves in the classroom. We like to make contact. We like to be up and around and engage with each student And this helped his classroom management just be flawless almost. There was no problem whatsoever. He was up, he was around, he was involved, and they were so focused and busy with, first of all, he had this this fine-tuned machine, for lack of a better term or expression, that was just going really well in and of itself, his organization with the delivery of instruction, with his present going from computer to computer, student to student, up and involved the entire time. It created a perfect classroom management structure, I guess you could say, and I was really impressed. Like I said, I consider myself, I'd like to think I am pretty decent when it comes to classroom management. He put me to shame. It was really, really great to see someone that made it so, it was so simple, it was genius. It was just, he was up, he was involved, he was focused, and the students were as well. And we're talking, these students were doing chemistry, algebraic reasoning, algebra 1, algebra 2, and geometry for the most part. And with all that, a lot of times students in our schools, they have a lot of trouble, especially with algebra 1 and algebra 2. And seeing them that engaged and working and focused, they were so focused and doing their own individual work there was just no complaining, there was no problem. They really had a goal, they had a purpose for being there, and they were fulfilling it, and he was facilitating it just miraculously. And I was really impressed by this. And as far as the classroom learning environment culture, I alluded to this in the beginning of this post-activity reflection, but his social presence set a very, very focused, I want to say it's a laid-back culture, but it was a calm and focused culture. Like the culture was very, very serious and calm. It was calm yet firm. His tone and the way he carried himself around each student was different. Each student, he knew them individually, and this created a great, mature culture. The students were focused and they were working. And a lot of times you'll see classrooms where we are all collaborating at once, that quote-unquote organized chaos. And a lot of the time, it's great to see that the collaboration, and it's great to see students up and moving and being excited and discussing things. Nevertheless, it's very difficult to keep students focused and on task when that happens. He was perfect at keeping students focused and doing what they're supposed to be doing. It was a very mature class. They knew what they were supposed to be doing, and they were getting it done, and he was making sure it happened. And he didn't have to be mean. He didn't have to be, like raise his voice. He was so organized, and he was so methodical, and not just the way he structured his class, but his social presence as well. It was like a performance. It was fantastic. But the culture and the learning environment were about as positive and as effective as I've ever seen. I'm not just making that up. It was fantastic. I'm really impressed by that. And any other observations? Well, what went well? This class was fantastic. Every bit of this activity went well. I'm not just saying that. I am so happy that I observed him. I knew it was going to be a good class because I know the teacher personally. Nevertheless, I cannot believe how well organized he was and how well he was at facilitating instruction for such a wide variety of not just students, grade levels, subject matter. He did A+. I cannot say anything more. He did so well. And what would you change? I would change nothing but the lights. The lights were a little bit dim in the classroom, and that was strictly for my own personal benefits, so I could see my notes better when I was writing. So I wish the lights been on. No, nothing could have been changed. I really enjoyed watching his class, and I think he did a fantastic job, and the students did a fantastic job, and he facilitated every bit of it. And I'm just really happy that I got to see that and see how a class can function so well from an administrative standpoint. And what surprising information was revealed through this experience? The surprising information that was revealed to me was how he could set up the class as, like I said, this sounds strange, but as a fine-tuned machine. It was a really effective machine. Like the class itself, the way the students were working, and the organization of it all, the three-way communication model I was talking about with the computer, to him, to the students, all interwoven together. It was like its own life form that was created in a weird way. It sounds strange. It took on a life of its own. It was so effective and it functioned so, it was like it was really great to see something work so effectively on its own. It was like a system he set up on its own. It was working without him even being there while he was being there at the same time. That's what I saw, how he could take technology and combine it with an organizational technology to organize where each student was, considering the wide variety of students and grade levels and subject matter, and still be able to effectively keep them learning, keep them focused. In technology, we hear, oh, use technology, and it can be a little bit broad, a little bit subjective. He directly took technology to help him organize a class to be the most efficient class it could be, so he could deliver instruction in the most organized manner considering the circumstances, which he achieved. So the way he was able to interwove technology into an organizational model for delivering instruction and differentiating instruction is what I took from this the most. That's what was revealed to me that surprised me, that I was really impressed by. And how this experience transformed your practice as an administrator, this showed me how it was supposed to be done. Like I said, I consider myself a halfway decent teacher when it comes to classroom management, when it comes to delivering instruction. I've been doing it for a long time now, but he did it better than me. I'm not going to lie. I like to credit where credit's due. He did a better job than me and than I've done before in the past. And I know now what it's like, how students can be encouraged and how they can do something that's more complex, more difficult, and still stay focused. Like I said, we have 100% at-risk student population, and he had all those students working and focused. They were doing a fantastic job with some complex subject matter. And that's what I'm going to take away from this as an administrator. It can be done. If you are organized and you effectively use technology, not just technology for technology's sake, to specifically organize your instruction in a manner that facilitates every student's learning, it can really, really transform the environment and help them be focused and help them to stay on task in something that's normally more difficult that they would normally not want to do. We have a hard time with apathy sometimes, like any school with students, and this almost eliminated it. And also, not just his organization, the way he was up and around, observe, it was his room. He owned the setting in a very supportive way. He was involved every step of the way, making sure each student was on task, and that's what I saw. The organization, the effective use of technology, and the fact that his presence was up and around the whole time, making sure each student was doing what they were supposed to be doing and to be there if they needed his assistance. And that's what I'm going to take away as an administrator, knowing how a classroom is supposed to be run. This is a great model to follow, to take with me. And that is the end of this post-activity reflection. I enjoyed this so much. It really opened my eyes to, I had no idea just one activity would be able to really show me how a teacher is supposed to perform, how a teacher can facilitate a learning environment where the students become independent and do the work on their own and meet their objectives, all through simple facilitation. And the students were successful, the teacher was successful, and it was just great to see this.